Hello everyone. So today is August 1st, so I am recording my July wrap up. I've done it before, but I was going through it. So here it is again. And I read 21 books in the month of July. It was quite a slow reading month for me. I think it was like a whole week where I didn't read anything at all. And that's not a bad thing. Everybody reads at their own pace, and sometimes months are slower than others, but we still always get through it no matter what. So I read 21 books, including DNFs. So let's get into it. Let's start in order from when I read them to the end of the month. So let's do that. First, I read Arsenic and Adobo. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the mystery so much. I wish there was more development with the family because the family had family trauma, generational trauma, kind of like Encanto and Turning Red and all the things. But I realized this is a whole series. This book is a series. So I'm probably going to get more about the family in more books. And I'm probably going to get more about the love interest, who we love. We love both of them in the next book as well. And I'm very excited about that. I had a great time reading this book, and I will be continuing with the series. So, next book. Next, I have Magic Burns by Ilona Andrews. Now, here's my thing. I gave it a 3.5. I loved Hidden Legacy in the Innkeeper Chronicles way more than I'm loving this Kate Daniels series. This is book 2, and I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series or not. I'm reading them via audiobook, so it doesn't really matter. Like, it won't, be detrimental to me. But I don't know. I really don't know if I like them or not. They're not bad, but I just like Hidden Legacy and Innkeeper Chronicles so much more. And this one is just not giving it to me the way I thought it would because I love Ilona Andrews so much. But that's okay. Not everything's going to be a million out of million stars, a 5-star read from me from Ilona Andrews, and that's okay. Next, I have The Scourge Between Stars. This is a sci-fi novella. It was great. I had a great time reading it. I would definitely read more from this author, but I think this is her debut book. So, and the crazy thing is, after I read this book, I gave it a 4-star. After I read it, I went to Goodreads to put in my review, and so many people gave this like 2 stars, and I was like, what are y'all seeing and I'm not? But I really enjoyed this. It's a quick alien-esque type of book, and there are some nuanced conversations about men and how they feel like they own women's bodies, and that take is in a different way than we usually see it. And I liked it in this book, and it was quite simple, and it wasn't the main plot of the book, but I still really enjoyed it and liked it a lot. Next, I read In the Shadow of the Fall. 5 stars. This is a fantasy novella, and I had an amazing time reading it. I need to buy book 2 because it's a duology novella, which is interesting, but I loved this book. The magic system, sometimes in fantasies, the magic system, I understand it, but I can't picture it. In this one, there's a magic system in storytelling and music, and the story plays out once the story is being told, and it is so beautiful, and I can see it so perfectly in my mind. It had to get a 5-star, if nothing else, just because of that. But also, the story was amazing. I really enjoyed the story in it, and obviously I need to buy book 2 because it's left off on kind of a cliffhanger. And honestly, I would reread it just so that I could read book 2, even though I don't have to because I literally read it last month. But it was so good. It was so good. Next, I read Jada's Christmas List, which I gave a 4.5. This is book 3 in the Consortium series that I started in a Southern Hearts Assigned Kisses episode. And I loved it. Obviously, it's a Christmas book, but it's a part of a series, so I had to read it to get to the rest of the series. It was really good. I gave it a 4.5. I had a great time. Jada don't play, and I love that about her. It's basically like a mafia-ish secret organization, and I have a great time reading these books. They're so good, and I like them so much. So I will continue with the series, obviously, because I also read book 4, and that's called Love Letters and Beacon. It was so good. I gave it a 3.5 to a 4. It had a lot of different stories in it. It had a new couple in it, but it also had the beginnings of another couple for book 5, and it also had a couple chapters from previous couples. So it was a lot going on. It was basically like a novella of novellas, you know? So because of that, I gave it a 3.5 to a 4. I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't fully about the couple that it was about, you know? Next, I read The Phantom of the Opera. And I have quite a few classics. I stopped buying classics because I realized they're not for me, but I still have to read the ones that I do have and I haven't read yet. So this is one of them, and I actually really enjoyed this. I'm giving it like a 3.5 to a 4, and I feel like on a reread, it would get a higher rating. I got kind of lulled in the middle, but the ending, I think it was so beautifully done, the ending. And that perks me right back up. It makes me want to reread this book in like a year or two to annotate it and to see how I feel differently with older and wiser eyes and ears. And I think this would be a great reread. So I will be keeping this classic because I haven't been keeping many as I've read them because I just don't have a connection to them. And I thought it was just because they're so old, but sometimes they're not that old. But this one was 1911, so over 100 years ago, and I found a connection to this one, so I'm happy about that. Next, I reread Gear Breakers, which I gave it a 4 stars, then I'm giving it a 4-star now. I very much love this book. It was my first sapphic sci-fi, and I had a great time reading it. There's a thing about sapphic books. I have read quite a few sapphic books, but I haven't kept quite a few sapphic books because there's always one main character that I do not like and it pisses me off. For some reason, they always have that same heterosexual dynamic of one is mean and one is not, and I don't like that. I don't like that because sometimes they're overly mean where I'm like, I don't understand why you would stay with that person, you know? But this was the first sapphic that I had a connection with both of them immediately, and I love that so much. I love it so much. But I haven't read YA sapphic, and I think that's what I'm going to get into. YA, new adult, because the traditionally published girlies for adults, yeah. But the YA traditionally published that I've read, I've liked. So, yeah. This was really good. I think it's so interesting. I love both the main characters. One of them is trying to have a revolution against the cyborgs, while the other is part cyborg. And you have to weigh the good and the bad with that. And there's always going to be whether they feel like they're doing the right thing. It was just so good. I really enjoyed it. And I felt like this is something I have never read before. It gives off some vibes to Iron Widow in the sense of those like machine-like things that they're in. But other than that, not they're similar. But I really enjoyed this. Next, I read Godslayer, which is book 2, which is the last book in the series. For Gear Breakers, and I gave it a 3.5. It wasn't as good as Godslayer, but it was still a great time. I would reread that book as well. I don't know if I would buy it. I got it from the library. I don't know if I would buy it to complete the collection because I didn't like it as much as I liked Gear Breakers, but if I reread it and I like it more, which happens often for me, I would definitely buy it to complete the collection. Next, I read Cashmere, and I gave it 4 stars. But here's the thing. I don't remember anything about this book. So I read Cashmere. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't remember it at all, to be honest. Out of every other KU book I read on this list, good or bad, I remember it. But I do not remember Cashmere at all. And I don't know what that says about the book or about me. So let's move on. Next, I read Ghostsmith, which is the second and final book in the House of the Dead series. It was top tier. I gave it 5 stars. So the whole series is a 5-star read for me. Book 1 and book 2. I love the new characters that they brought in. I love how the evolution of two of the 3 main characters was, because they had mistrust for each other, one more than the other, and they had to work through that. And I feel like they worked through that quite well and quite good. I had a great time reading it. I told you guys a while ago in my mid-year freakout, I believe, that Bonesmith, it brought me back into the YA fantasy. It made me fall in love with YA fantasy again. This might be considered a new adult, I don't know. But it brought me back in there. Because before that, I was starting to lose steam for it. And I was like, maybe I was just growing out of it. I'm 21. Maybe it's just not my time to be reading YA anymore. And that one made me change my mind. I was so happy about that. I have officially read all of Nikki Palpreto's books. But I think she has a middle grade, so technically no. But all of her YA, new adults, all of her novels, I have read. So, yay! Next, I have this, Blake and Iman. And I gave this a 4.5 to a 5-star. I really enjoyed this book. I love their communication. I love them as a couple. I love them separately. I just had a great time reading it. It's a romance, it's an indie romance, and I loved it. This will be my Southern Hearts Sign Kisses episode 5 that will be coming out in like a week or two. It was great. This is a part of a series by Simone, and I will be continuing with the series. I will have a great time. I just know I'm gonna have a good time reading them. So yeah. Next, I read Vinland Saga Volume 2. This, I gave it 3.5. I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series. I don't love this series as much as other people love this series. And I don't know if I'm just not far enough in. But I do like the juxtaposition of the main character. Because he's not a good person, really. Like, his father was slain in front of him. And now he's on a path of revenge. However, he's not a good person. Because in this book specifically, he is in the same camp as the Vikings who killed his father, and he sees them about to gang assault a woman who came from the village that they just pillaged, and he walks away and does nothing. He doesn't care. And it shows that he's not a great person. Also, he still has a mother and a sister, and he's just full-fledged ahead on revenge for his father. But that leaves your mother and your sister unprotected as well. And I don't think he sees it that way, but that's how it is. Especially since they're women back in Viking times, like hello. And the thing is, I love Vikings. I love Vikings. I love Vikings Valhalla, and I love The Last Kingdom. I'm looking for some more Viking recs. If you have some, leave them in the comments below. I don't like it as much as other people like it. So I don't know if I'm going to continue or not. But the thing is, when I went to Goodwill, I got Volume 1 and Volume 5 from Goodwill. They were like so cheap, so dirt cheap. I read Volume 1, obviously, and books 2, 3, and 4 I'm getting from like Libby digital copies. And will I even get to book 5? I don't know. Because I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series or not. I don't know. Let me know. Next, I have Think It's a Game. I gave this a 3.5 to a 4. It was good, but it wasn't great. And I just think that sometimes I didn't like the way the main character spoke. Like, sometimes he was very harsh with his words, and I didn't like it. But I don't know. It wasn't a fave, but it was still really good. You know? Next, I read Mr. Librarian. I gave this a 3.5. I do account this 3.5 to the fact that I was at the end of my everything, because I did a 24-hour readathon and I was just over and tired. So I think that this would have got probably like a 4 if I had done this earlier in the readathon or just not in the readathon at all. So around 6 months to a year, I'll probably read it and it'll probably get a 4. But it was a good book. Jesus Christ. It was a good book. It wasn't a fave of mine, so, you know. Next, I have... You're just going to sit here?
Because if I don't sit here, I'm going to forget what I was going to say.
Next, I have Liberated by Kimberly Brown, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars, and it's a erotica novella. And even though it's a erotica novella, it's only like 110 pages, it still had plot to it. But I also like that because it's a novella, because it's mainly an erotica, it doesn't end with an epilogue or anything that's like, and now they're married, or now they're together forever. It's like they're still working out where they want to be together. They are just dating right now. They're not actually married or boyfriend and girlfriend or anything like that. And I really enjoyed that because that's so much more realistic, in my opinion, than them being married at the end. When they haven't known each other that long, they don't know each other as well as they can or should, but they're getting to know each other. So I like that a lot. Next, I read The Devil Wears Baccarat, and I gave this one 4 stars. This was diabolically crazy. And the thing I liked about this is, like, in a lot of dark romances, the guy is very aggressive, sometimes abusive, so much. And the girl is usually shivering in the corner, crying, and doesn't have much agency over themselves. But in this book, the guy is crazy and doing all this stuff. He's not abusive, but he's crazy and he's aggressive in the sense of like always in your face type stuff. But she likes it. I think that's the main difference between so many dark romances that I do not like and despise. And this one, she likes it. And it's not even that thing of like, I hate that I like this, so I'm going to say no, but I actually mean yes. No, she likes the way he acts towards her. She likes all of that stuff. And I think that's the main difference on why it's so good. Because before this, the only dark romances I enjoyed were by K. Alex Walker, because they were the world being dark, but not the relationship itself. I like dark romances where the world is dark, but their relationship is the reprieve from everything else. Their relationship is good and safe and everything like that. And this is not that in that sense, but it is, their relationship is still not dark as other dark romances portray them to be. And so I give it 4 stars. Now it's time for my DNFs. I DNF'd 4 books this month. 3 of them are special editions. None of them will be staying. So let's get into them. The first one I DNF'd is The Night and Its Moon. I just didn't care. I felt like it was very convoluted. I only read like 60-ish pages. And I realized I don't want to read this book. And even if I finished it, I still wouldn't continue with the series, because there's like 4, 5, 6 books plus novellas and all this stuff. And I don't care that much. And I was already confused in the first 60 pages because I feel like the world wasn't built up enough for me to even understand what was going on. So yeah, no, it's a no for me. Next, I read The Gods Below. And this is there's this epidemic going around with fantasy books where everything is cookie cutter and the exact same with no personality behind them. And you could tell this because there's no world building in this book, 1. And 2, I don't even think there's character building. And by that, I mean, if this wasn't a special edition and the end papers didn't have their faces on them, I would not know what these people look like. And that's a very big thing for me. To understand what's going on, I need that world building. And to understand what I'm picturing, I need you to describe them. I don't need to know every freckle on their face, but I just need to know what they look like. And I didn't even know that. I read 200 pages of this book and I feel like I got nowhere. So no. Next, it was Air. I read 200 pages of this book. And here's the thing. This is a partner series with An Ember in the Ashes. 1, I did not like An Ember in the Ashes enough to love this, right? 2, I think it's not smart to have a spin-off series about the descendants of the main characters from Ember in the Ashes, but it's only 20 years in the future. They're all still alive. 1, at most they're in their 40s, at most. So for that to happen, and for me to get 200 pages into this book, they're not in it except for Helena, and it's giving bad parents, neglectful parents, because how are all of y'all children who are like 20 and below going through all of this and no parent is around? It's giving weird, but it's also like new religions, new places, new everything. Why is it a partner series? It could have just been its own thing. Still wouldn't have liked it, but it makes no sense. And I think it was so boring. None of the characters were interesting, and it's upsetting because this book, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful fairy loops that they've ever done, and I'm not keeping it because I'm never going to read it. I thought I was going to keep it on my shelves because in a couple years I might reread it, and I don't think I will. So it's going to go. And lastly, we have The Dagger and the Flame. This book was just not good. I read 160 pages of this book. One, it went in one ear and out the other because I had an audiobook as well. This book wasn't good. I didn't like the characters. The plot didn't make no sense. I'm over it, to be honest. And also, I have a thing with audiobooks. If there's a family tree, if there's talking about like magic houses at the beginning and it's telling you every character and all that stuff, the audiobook has to say it as well. I'm on this page waiting for them to read it out to me and they just say chapter 1. Excuse me? Read out the list of the players. Why have this in here? But I read it, obviously, by eye. I'm acting like it was that hard. It wasn't, but still. Have it in the audiobook as well. I've realized that Fairy Loots aren't for me. Mind you, I wasn't buying Fairy Loot boxes, but I have a lot of Fairy Loots. You cannot decide what they give you. And these are not my style of fantasies, and they might be somebody else's style of fantasies. And I just, they're not great. And I feel like a lot of fantasies these days are going through that thing of everybody wants a fantasy, so everybody's writing one, but the characters are bland and it's just a bunch of nothing. There's a saying right now called like reheating someone's nachos, and that's what these are. That's what these are, in my opinion. I just, you know, it's not for me. It's not for me. So, that is all the books I read for the month of July. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, just because a book that I DNF'd or gave a low rating is bad for me, that could be your next 5-star. We never compare each other. We never do that in this household, in this YouTube channel household. So, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I hope you have an amazing, scrumdiddlyumptious, great reading day, week, month, year, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.